Hello and welcome back to That Tracks F1 podcast. For this, our review of the Canadian Grand Prix weekend. And this week, it's a little bit of change here at That Tracks. We've got a guest. And I'd like to introduce you all to Jake Wilkins, who is a very accomplished karter. And he's been racing for 17 years and has lots and lots of wins and trophies to his name. And he's also a really good friend. So, Jake, tell us a little bit about where you currently race.
Oh, yeah. I'm currently racing in a series called Cup 100, where Lewis Hamilton started in the 1990s. Quite a lot of stars from touring cars, rally drivers. You often see them that they competed in that series one time because Cup 100 is the fastest rental cars in Europe. A lot of money, but worth it. Been racing all over the country, Wales, Northampton, Kent, all over. It's mainly a full weekend, but it's good fun. But the main thing you got to remember is when you're racing to have fun as well. Not just be competitive, you need to have fun.
Absolutely, because it's a lot of outlay, a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. I mean, sometimes you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you get frustrated, but the one thing you got to concentrate on is you get back up for next time when you bounce back harder.
Exactly. And you've got your own channel as well, haven't you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and give us
Yes,
the links?
I do have a TikTok channel, and it is called Kart Bandit. I'm pretty sure it's called Kart Bandit, let me have a look. Yeah, it's called Kart Bandit CR100. I do have videos on there from Cup 100s, like short snippets, accidents, big crashes I've had. There's a really embarrassing interview on there. There's a few live races on there which we streamed by Alpha Live Racing, and there's a few wins on there as well. But it is a channel that I am taking my time on and will be building up very slowly. Do also have a YouTube channel, but I don't really use that much. But there is my old karting videos on there for when I used to race in the kids club, just called Jake Wilkins. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, right, lovely. Well, I'll be putting the links to both of your channels and your socials and things in the show notes. So yes, not only are you an accomplished karter, but you are also a big F1 fan.
Yeah, huge.
Yes, huge F1 fan. I'm actually sat looking at Jake now and he's got some really amazing Formula One tattoos, which I'm quite envious of. Obviously, we've just had the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, so we thought we'd get together and have a little chat about what we thought about everything. I mean, what was your overview of the weekend as a whole?
I'll be honest, I don't watch all the free practice, but from the sprint and the main race, it was definitely a showstopper for a weekend. It's not what you would have expected. I mean, with the sprint, both makes fighting at the front, yeah, back to expected, but are we dropping back into the Hamilton-Rosberg era where both fighting and could potentially take each other out? I mean, yeah, they're both fighting for the championship.
Exactly.
Same as Hamilton and Rosberg, but
I think Toto Wolff actually touched on that, didn't he, after the sprint qualifying when he was interviewed? And he was asked how is he going to deal with that moving forward. And he said that they will be discussing it between them and going to decide whether they're going to race each other as though they're a third car or whether we're going to have a little bit of a papaya rules situation. And they would put the team first and basically said, you'll know tomorrow when you see him out on track again. And I think we gathered quite quickly which way that conversation had gone.
oh yeah, I think it's definitely come to the case of, yeah, we're not going to listen to you. We'll do our own race. We want to win. We both want to win championships. They're both hungry. Just let them get on and race.
Exactly. And I mean, that's great for us because that provides great entertainment. And that was a lot of criticism last year, I think, of the papaya rules. And well, I do think that in some ways McLaren managed that Piastri-Norris battle quite well. I feel like it did take some of the, for us as viewers, fun out of it. It was all quite respectful. Whereas I think that Antonelli and Russell are definitely far more aggressive with each other and are not quite so worried about upsetting each other.
I mean, it is loads better. I mean, got nothing against Max Verstappen, but the racing that we've had last year and this year is loads better than what we've had the last couple of years, where Verstappen just shoots off and wins by about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that did get very, very boring. So yeah, it's definitely what we want to see, and I think that part of it's probably the nature of the Canadian track that it has kind of flattered the regulations a little bit, but I do think the regulations seem to work better this weekend, and I think there was, as a whole, it was really good entertainment. all the complaints we had about the race, because I'm starting to see people now sort of say, "Oh, most people are softening to them, aren't they?"
Yeah.
I don't know if every weekend will be as good as this one, but
I mean, the one thing I did notice this weekend, which I think is probably the first time I've noticed it, you can't see much difference when obviously coming down to obviously you've got huge speed top onto it, but when the battery runs out, it's not a massive drop now.
no,
I think they have more or less got it more equal.
yeah,
So it's not such
at
a
least on
huge
this circuit
deficit
anyway.
like as
Yeah,
Fairman Cross in Japan. That was huge. That
yeah,
was massive.
yeah,
Whereas this one yesterday was, you could see that they're definitely starting to get the regulations right and they're going the right way that they need to go.
yeah, yeah. It's all positive from that point of view, isn't it? Yeah, so the weekend got off to a bit of an interesting start in free practice, really. There was a lot of offs there. Norris off twice at turn 3, Verstappen off at 7, and then again at 8 and 9. Hamilton off as well. And then, of course, poor Alex Albon colliding with the Marmot. And that, I was quite surprised by that. I was quite surprised how much of a rebuild job that was, that he missed sprint quali. Because, I mean, thankfully he wasn't hurt, but that really did make an absolute mess of the Williams.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, things the smallest damage, or whatever you might think, us as viewers might think, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. But the thing is, you don't actually physically know the amount of damage, the bodywork, and all that, the technical stuff, until it's actually been brought into the garage.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think Alex is having a lot of luck this season so far. Lawson was out with a hydraulics issue. Colapinto was out. Ocon was complaining on the radio that his ride height fell off by about 10 and followed that up quite quickly with a spin and had to come in for a new nose. So, yeah, the FP1 really did make it quite clear that it was going to be a bit of a lively weekend. Sprint quali 1, we had a red flag after Alonso went into the wall. Thought that was quite unusual. What did you think?
Whether obviously the tyres just decided to give up, or whether there was actually an issue with braking, or there's just no front end grip.
Yeah, it was surprising to see that really, and a shame because I think he's got enough to deal with at the minute. In quali 1, we lost Lawson, Albon, Bottas, Gasly, Stroll, and Perez, and I think the biggest surprise there was Gasly to go out.
Yeah, I mean, Gasly normally definitely gets through to Q2, normally Q3 sometimes, but I suppose sometimes you can either have an off weekend or you start bad and then you start to work your way up.
Yeah, exactly. Could potentially be as well that he's just not liking these new updates, upgrades.
Yeah, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Generally, Colapinto seems to quite like them, and
Oh
Gasly
yeah, I
doesn't.
mean, Colapinto has definitely come along from last year scoring no points to now scoring, I think, 18 points, and is now 2 points behind Gasly in the championship. So
Huge step
could we
forward.
maybe see Colapinto versus Gasly for the championship?
That would be interesting. In Sprint Quali 2, we lost Hulkenberg, Bortoletto. We did actually lose Colapinto at that point, Ocon, Behrman, and Alonso. I don't think there was any great surprises there. Haas seemed to be really struggling after a fairly good start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose sometimes it depends how far ahead the car is in development and research at the start of the season compared to where you are like 4 or 5 races in, where the other teams start to catch up with different upgrades. I mean, it might only be a temp, but that temp can help you in the race or in
Yeah,
quali. I
yeah,
mean, it's only very small differences can get you from the bottom to the top.
yeah. And I think that was the thing, is the grid was so close last year. When it came to qualifying, sometimes it would be a second that covered top to bottom. And we saw that spread out at the beginning of this year
Yeah,
more, but that's starting to close up again.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and then Sprint Quali 3 ended with Russell taking pole, with Antonelli second and Norris in third. I don't think anybody was surprised this week to see the two Mercedes at the top, were we? After all the talk of the updates and upgrades that they were bringing.
I mean, if I'm honest with you, I actually genuinely thought Hamilton would have got it, because I know he was quite strong
He was.
during all the sprint qualies, and I actually have a good thought that he would have taken pole. But
Yeah.
yes, again, I think if I remember, they were put on the softs, and obviously I don't think the softs work for them.
No, it does seem to be a thing that every time they put the softs on, everything falls apart a little bit for Ferrari.
Yeah,
So moving on to the sprint then. Well, that's where all the action really kicked off, wasn't it?
yeah, that was definitely quite interesting.
At the start there, Hamilton gets past Piastri, but it's really the Antonelli and Russell battle that everybody was talking about. Antonelli caught up with Russell on lap 5. Lap 6, turn 1, 2, as you know, there was contact.
Yep.
And Antonelli had to take to the grass. And then the radio messages started, did they not? I mean, how did you see that incident? When you first viewed it, what did you think?
I would say it was a very ambitious move by Antonelli.
Hmm.
I could see why he wanted to make the move, but I think sometimes you just got to think what the consequences could be once you made that move or during the move. I mean, sometimes you just got to sit back, think what you're doing, reset, focus, and think, right, next couple of corners, I'm quicker than, right, I catch them up there, wait for the straight, outside. I mean, I can't really say anything. I used to be like that, but I'm better at it now. But yeah, it was rather interesting, especially the radio message when Kimi Antonelli was obviously voicing his opinions.
Yeah.
And obviously you got Bono telling him 3 times basically say, you know what, shut up, get on with it. But then he got that Toto basically said, right, shut up, you need to get on with it.
Yeah, Toto didn't mince his words, did he? You know,
No.
get off the radio and stop complaining.
I mean,
but he needed that.
Thing is, different ways you look at it. You could say, yeah, it was Russell's fault. But then thing is, you look at the onboard, no, it wasn't. Thing is,
No.
it's different perspectives. I mean, at the time when you watch it, yeah, it looked like it was Russell. But like I said, you look at the onboard, it's not.
No. And I don't think anybody was surprised that Antonelli reacted the way he did. He's going to feel that he was pushed off.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not got all the information, obviously, that we have as viewers. And when you actually look at it, it's basically a racing incident. Yes, it's a bit aggressive, but it's a racing incident. The only thing that did surprise me slightly, it wasn't even noted, let alone investigated by the stewards. It seemed odd to me. I mean, I think it would have been dismissed as a racing incident had it been, but it did seem odd that it wasn't investigated.
Yeah. Well, then, you know what the FIA is like sometimes, like to jump in, sometimes they don't jump in, but obviously everyone's opinions are completely different.
Exactly.
But we're going back to the Antonelli move on Russell. Thing is, I know for myself, when you're that person in that car, you don't care about anyone else. You focus on yourself. You do what you think's best for yourself. I mean, yeah, he was ambitious. Could have crashed him out. Could have crashed Russell out. Could have cost both of them. But thing is, you don't necessarily think what the outcome could be sometimes because you're that focused, and because you're leading the championship, you want to try and pull a bit of a gap. And you already got, yeah, fair enough. It would have been a 1 point difference, but that 1 point difference could mean something later on in the season.
Well, look at last year.
Yeah,
2 more points and Verstappen would have taken the championship.
Yeah. Or the year before that, when Norris was starting to bounce back, and Ricciardo took that 1 point because he got the fastest lap. That could have been the 1 point Norris would have needed to have won that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So every point counts.
I do think as well that little bit of immaturity in the nicest possible way on Antonelli's part of lack of experience and that young hot-headedness, had he taken his time and really pushed Russell and pushed him and opened up the gap behind him to the McLarens and then tried an ambitious move, it probably wouldn't have stuck, but he wouldn't have then lost the place to Norris because he opened the door well and truly there and Norris went, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that'll probably be something he'll look back on and realise that a cooler head, a bit more maturity would have paid dividends there.
Cooler head, more patience, see what you can see is the main thing.
Exactly. So I think everybody was quite interested to see what would happen in qualifying because obviously the 2 Mercedes were tipped to be getting on the front row and which way that was going to land was going to be really important. So, Jake, I think you've got the order noted down of who went out and where, haven't you? So, what happened in Quali 1?
So, in Quali 1, pretty much the usual people, as you normally see, unfortunately. In 22nd, we have Valtteri Bottas. In 21st, we have Stroll. 20th, Sergio Perez. 19th, Fernando Alonso. 18th, Alex Albon. Unfortunately, he's just not having much luck this year,
Really,
which is a shame because he's an absolutely amazing driver. 17th, we have Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, there was not an awful lot went on in Quali 1. Perez did, I believe he got a penalty. He impeded Alonso at the last corner, which Alonso was quite vocal about over the radio. But yeah, I think it was a case of a little bit usual suspects in Quali 1. What about Quali 2?
So for quality 2, I was quite surprised with Ollie Behrman in 16th, but I did hear that there was damage to his dashboard, which obviously part of aero, quite a big part of the car. So that's possibly his downfall for qualifying. And then P15, you got Carlos Sainz. 14, Pierre Gasly, another driver that I wasn't expecting to be down there. Would have thought he'd have been further up the order because he normally qualifies quite well. And then you got Borsaletto in 13th, Lawson in 12th, and Nico Hulkenberg in 11th.
Yeah, just expanding on that Gasly thing, I was very surprised to see how much Pierre was struggling this weekend. And obviously, after what happened in Miami, I think he was probably hoping for a strong return. I'm assuming it's probably got something to do with the updates. Colapinto seems to be up and running with these updates, and Gasly seems to be struggling.
There's a big jump from Colapinto as you look from last year to where he's not scored points to now where he's. Also, I know he scored points in Miami, but I reckon he might actually score a handful of points through the rest of the season. With the way he's going at the minute, he looks like he's more dialed in than Gasly.
Yeah, I definitely think there needs to be some more tweaks. It was interesting because this weekend was the first weekend where there was proper parity between the two.
Oh yeah,
where they've both got the same car, and it just feels like Colapinto's run with it and Gasly's struggling.
It almost feels like as well that Colapinto's almost had a backhander. Like he's always been given, right, you are the number 2 driver, you're gonna drive like a number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Whereas I think what we've seen from Miami, obviously Gasly crashed out, wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Could have been another double points. But as we saw from the Canadian Grand Prix, he's more dialed in. I think he's a lot more comfortable with the car now. Obviously, the upgrades works for him. I mean, they probably will for Gasly. Maybe he just needs another weekend or so to get into it, and you never know. I reckon they can both get top 6. On a good weekend, I actually think you can get top 6.
Yeah, I think they're more than capable of that. I've definitely seen huge steps forward by Alpine this year.
Massive.
The only other thing that I noted in Quali 2, that with 9 seconds to go in the session, Hadjar was sitting at the top of the order.
Wow, what a lap.
Yes,
what a mega lap.
And this is what we've come to expect of Hadjar a bit, isn't it? Is these flashes of absolute brilliance where he does something exceptional.
It'd just be nice if we can see more of it. I mean, not necessarily in qualifying, but we want to see more on the races.
Exactly.
Because I reckon Hadjar could easily get a podium.
I
mean, the Red Bull from the start of the season to now, obviously I know we've had like 4 or 5 races, they are coming along. Same as with McLaren when they don't make silly errors. They're coming along.
Yeah.
I reckon by the end of the season, it's going to be a 4-way fight. I mean, I know Mercedes are leading massively at the minute, but you don't know. Ferraris, they're bouncing back. They've got a huge upgrade after Spa, which I know is a bit late for a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Is that from the
easy bounce back?
Is that the Adjuang?
Yeah. They could quite easy bounce back. I mean, McLaren, they've bounced back from the start of the season, and Red Bull, well, looks like they're finally getting there. It's
just been reliability for McLaren, I think, more than anything. Yes. That's the flying the ointment for them. Then when we got to Quali 3, that was quite interesting and very, very frantic.
Definitely.
And what was the order? How did we end up there?
So from pole position, we've got George Russell. Yes, a lot from George Russell. I mean, being 7th until the last couple of seconds, and all of a sudden he just posts that lap.
Yeah.
What an amazing lap. I mean,
it really was all or nothing. He was either going to start 7th or maybe 5th or 6th at best. So it was a case of all or nothing, and he really did make it stick.
I mean, you got Antonelli P2, Norris P3, Piastri P4, Hamilton P5. Hamilton could have done better. So then you got Verstappen P6, Hadjar P7. Would have expected more from Hadjar with that lap from Q2. Leclerc P8, Lindblad P9, and Colapinto P10.
Yes.
I mean, come on, he's coming along.
Yeah, definitely seeing a massive improvement for Colapinto. The Q3 quite interested me because it was quite mixed up with 2.5 minutes to go, because the order then was Norris, Hamilton, Piastri at the front.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody just came out and posted lap after lap after lap. And at one point, I think I was kind of losing track slightly of what I thought was going on. And then you say, Russell, absolute last chance saloon, and takes it from 7th to pole. Can't fault him.
Yeah, because I think there was that they actually gave Russell more fuel, so we could have 2 hot laps, whereas obviously normally you get given the out lap, hot lap, then you come in.
And an in lap,
But
yeah.
Russell, he had 2. So obviously he knew he needed that second chance just to completely dial in and focus
Yeah.
and pinpoint everywhere that he needs to be. And I don't think there was any cars on track when he did that last lap.
Yeah.
Whereas as you watch the highlights and whatever, there was a lot of cars out on track at the same time.
Yeah.
Which you're just going to be tripping over each other. It doesn't, yeah, it does help with like aero and slipstream and that, but you only need that one driver in front of you to make a slight mistake, and that's it. Your lap's
Yeah.
done.
That would have been the end of it. But yeah, definitely a mature decision there. As a bit of an aside as well, as you know about our family prediction competition, I was quite excited because my wildcard this week, I can see you smiling, you know what I'm going to say. My wildcard this week was Lindblad getting points in the sprint and in the main race, which was quite wild when you think about his form. I mean, he was great in Australia points on debut, but not really had a lot of luck since. So he'd scored points in the sprint and then qualified in 9th. So I thought, I'm on for this. I'm going to get my wild card this week. Didn't work out that way though, did it?
No.
No.
But before we get on to the race, Lindblad, he's another driver that he will go far.
Yeah, agreed.
He's a driver like he's proven himself in a short amount of time. Unfortunately, he's just been unlucky with either crash or unreliability, but he's definitely a driver to look out for.
He's got maturity beyond his years.
Oh yeah, I think he's got the best maturity out of all the rookies.
Yeah, he's certainly, in interviews, he comes across very mature. He's got a very mature but realistic outlook and doesn't seem to be quite as hot-headed as, say, Kimi or Isaac. So I think that will set him up quite well. So I'm hoping for great things for Arvid. So yeah, on the subject of it not going very, very well, we had a bit of a dramatic start, didn't we? Because Lindblad couldn't get off the grid. So there goes my wildcard. Great, marvellous. But more importantly, it was really, really bad luck for Lindblad. And we ended up with 3 formation laps before the race could even get started. So what did you think of the start then?
The start was, I would say, was pretty epic, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Norwich just sending it up on the inside with an absolute mega start.
Absolutely.
Antonelli finally got a decent start. I've heard that he's now got a modified clutch so he can actually do starts properly now. Not dissing him or anything, he's a decent driver, but his starts has been pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But to go on the inside of 2 Mercedes on that corner where absolutely anything can happen, and it's normally a crash magnet, he did pretty well. But what was McLaren thinking of putting both McLaren drivers on intermediates?
Well, that is the big discussion point, isn't it? But yeah, just going back briefly to Lando's start, I think that's probably the best start I've ever seen him do. And he certainly got a lot of flack last year for his starts or his inability to start, should we say. And yeah, I was very surprised to see that and certainly made me sit up and pay attention. But McLaren's strategic decision is something you'd probably expect more of Ferrari than McLaren.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's almost like McLaren and Ferrari switched brains because look at Ferrari, they did absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I don't understand is you could see the track was drying. Yes, some other teams further down the grid had gone out on intermediates as well. Surely they've got the most up-to-date information about what weather is coming in. So bearing that in mind, why would you put both of them out on the intermediates? Surely you would split the strategy and put one out if you really wanted to use the intermediate. I mean, to me, it's baffling that they did anyway. To me, that's something you do if you've had a really rubbish qualifying and you think, to heck with it, let's just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. Let's go out on the intermediates.
I think it's, to be honest, I think it's more a case of that they've got either there's something wrong with the telemetry was wrong from the get-go, or it's gut instinct. Sometimes you can't trust the telemetry, you trust your gut instinct, and obviously, as we saw, it didn't go to plan.
No, it was not a good call. But then, again, once the race got underway and Norris is getting caught up with, the decision to box both of them. Yeah. Why not box just Norris, leave Piastri out and see what he could do in those first few laps? But no, they just seem to disengage the brain completely this weekend. I was absolutely baffled by that.
It's definitely a weekend that McLaren needs to forget.
Yes, very much so. And as they always say, they'll go away and they'll learn from it. And I really, really hope they do, because they have made some howlers in the past. But I think this is the worst one I've seen for a while.
Definitely the worst one.
So on lap 6, as Russell is overtaking, Antonelli locks up and nearly hits Russell. and Russell manages to lead from lap 7. And Antonelli was quite lucky that he didn't have bad flat spot, I think, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a crazy move.
Yeah.
To be fair, both drivers could have been out for that move. But yeah, ideally, try not to flat spot your tyres. But obviously, if you need to do it in an emergency situation like that, then you've got no choice.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, the McLarens have both been pitted and they're now running down in 14th and 15th, which is an absolute embarrassment. But on lap 9, Verstappen comes past Hamilton for 3rd, and I do think that Max had a fairly decent weekend this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely come along from the previous weekends that we've had, and he definitely does look like he's more dialed into the car now. He's getting more out of the car than he was before, and obviously reliability is definitely on his side this time.
Yeah. It seems to be qualifying where he's not doing so well and he's leaving himself a lot to do on race day. Well, he is doing it.
But then again, you got the time from qualifying to the race to still make minor adjustments.
Yeah.
And maybe, obviously, the minor adjustments from the qualifying to the race has obviously paid off. It's either that or he's got a fresh mindset.
Yeah.
Thing is, if you're not exactly starting off well in qualifying, it's going to stick with you. But then the race is a completely different ballgame. It's like a mini endurance race. You don't know what's going to happen. You just try and do everything the best you can, and you just work on it.
Absolutely.
You can't win at the first corner.
We saw on lap 13, despite the fact that the McLaren had started climbing up through the back of the field, unfortunately, there was a bit of a coming together between Piastri into Albon, and that ended up with Piastri getting a 10-second penalty. I don't think there's any argument there. It was a bit of a slam dunk, wasn't it?
It was a very ballsy move by Piastri. I mean, whether he was distracted with Behrman that was next to him, and obviously you have a big blue car right in front of you and he's just painted him as a target. I mean, we know he's done moves like that before and it has worked, but this one, yeah, you could see by miles this move is not going to work.
No, it's not going to stay.
Because he's done that, he may have ruined Albon's chances of getting points in that race. Because like I say, you never know what's going to happen in a race.
Exactly. And at this point, let me move on to around about lap 17. Russell's still hanging on, but there's an awful lot of scrapping going on between him and Kimi. Lap 21, Kimi tries to get past Russell again in turn 1. By lap 22, Antonelli's got past Russell and pulling away, which results in Russell losing the distance is such that Russell's lost the overtake facility. However, Antonelli then locks up on lap 24 and the lead changes again back to Russell. But at this point, there is actually contact.
Yeah, it was very exciting. As a team and driver, you've done that contact between your top two drivers who are potentially fighting for the championship. Thing is, are we going back to the 2016 era of Hamilton versus Rosberg? Yeah, they raced very hard and very competitive. Yeah, they made contacts and obviously took each other out. Are we going to see the repeat of that again this year? Hopefully not. Hopefully we can see them both scrapping it out. You don't know who's going to win because they're both equally good drivers. But we don't want to see it where both get taken out, then they basically get told, right, you're not racing each other. Positions you're in, you stay in that position. Yeah. You don't want that.
It's exciting watching the close racing, but it needs to be kept clean. We don't want to see any contact. And after this contact, Antonelli ends up in the runoff area and is then told by the team to give the place back. And again, Antonelli's on the radio complaining that he was ahead and that George forced him off. And again, we're back to the whole thing, aren't we, of him not really having all the information in the car.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from seeing it from our point of view, it did look like Antonelli was ahead, but like we say, we actually don't know all the telemetry and how much distance, how much your car is besides their car and which car is facing to the corner.
Exactly. But as enjoyable as watching the fight was between the two of them, on lap 30, Russell's car died, the power unit gave up, and that was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have seen Russell and Antonelli fight it out, but if I'm honest, I think it would have involved a crash.
I think the way they were going, yeah.
With the way them two were scrapping, yeah, it was fun for us, enjoyable for us, but the thing is, they're both pushing each other to the limits, and I think, if I'm honest, one of them would have snapped. Yeah. Either taking themselves out or would have cost both drivers.
Absolutely. Could have ended up with a situation a bit similar to the Norris-Piastri situation last year.
Exactly.
Yeah, went for the gap, wasn't really there, and all ended in tears. Well, understandably, George pretty upset about that, takes his head restraint out of the car and throws it into the track and has actually ended up with being fined for that because you cannot do it. And I did actually see online a little bit of sass somebody put a comment on X that George throwing the head restraint is taking me out. And the official Red Bull account commented underneath, borderline something something, which is obviously going back to Abu Dhabi 2024, where George was talking about Verstappen and saying how he reacts with anger and borderline violence. I did think that was quite a sassy comment. We then had a virtual safety car, and everybody, including Antonelli, was pitting. And then when everything got underway again, we saw Hadjar getting himself into quite a bit of bother, really, with Leclerc, moving under braking, moving way too late under braking.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been quite a big crash, both not just for Leclerc, but for both drivers.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, he's defending, but the thing is, you can only move once.
Yeah.
Can't move more than once. As soon as you move more than once, that's it. You could be putting yourself or the driver at risk, and you're going to get a penalty, which you don't want.
I think he was collecting penalties, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was collecting penalties.
Yeah, and realistically, it didn't make an awful lot of difference. He did end up finishing 5th because he'd opened up such a gap that even with his stop and go penalty, he didn't lose any places. Moving on to lap 40, another bit of bad luck for Lando Norris, who ended up retiring from the race with a damaged gearbox, which was a real shame because he had actually at this point worked himself way back up into the points again.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely proved himself. Like, he had the pace, he had the car, he could go and do it.
Yeah.
Maybe if he'd actually chosen the right strategy, could he have been a winner? I reckon he could have fought the Mercedes.
I think he would have definitely been on the podium again, yeah.
I reckon if both Mercedes had been fighting like they have been, I reckon Norris could have slipped in and maybe taken the win.
A bit like he did in the sprint when the two Mercedes fell over each other and Norris went, thank you very much, I'll have that. Yeah, absolutely. Lap 43, we saw Perez heading for the pits and his front suspension just gave up.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a bizarre one. I mean, especially when the suspension is made from carbon fibre, obviously so many layers to the point it's virtually indestructible, but then just come into it and that's it, breaks.
Yeah, it was really, really bizarre.
Obviously, as we first know from watching the highlights, we see it coming into the pit, and then we're like, okay, how's that happen? But then when you're actually on board, it's like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a...
Yeah, I just assumed he'd had contact with somebody, but no, wasn't the case.
Because I do believe the commentators thought he had either had contact with someone or he hit the wall.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's obviously just a manufacturing fault with that part. Hopefully they can inspect the rest of them properly for the next race, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
It was a real shame, actually, because Perez was having quite a belter of a weekend.
There he was. I mean, P13 in the sprint in the Cadillac.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Been struggling, and I was hoping they would have come up a bit more in the qualifying, but obviously sprint qualifying, completely different ball game.
Yeah.
So I think Cadillac slowly getting there.
Decent progress.
I mean, they're a new team.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we had that off chance with Braun being a new team. That was just a miracle.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you never know. Cadillac next year might bounce back.
Yeah. I don't think they can be too upset with the progress they've made.
Oh, no. I mean, they're coming along nicely, but slowly.
Yeah. So, as well as Hadjar coming in to save his penalties under the BSC, Piastri also came in and saved his 10-second penalty for...
Actually, with the VOC, I think there is one... I don't know if you know this. The marshal was collecting a bit of Perez's suspension off the track.
Right.
And he literally dived in like a superhero into the
road. Yeah, we did know that.
That's a pretty funny moment, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't know that. My youngest asked me if that's the sort of moves I pull when I'm marshalling, and I had to admit no. I tend to climb very inelegantly over tyre walls, not go diving Dukes at Hazard style through gaps in the anchor. But yeah, I was quite impressed with that. That was quite a slick move by that marshal, definitely. So although we kind of lost all the fun of watching the mates battle it out all the way to the end with Russell's retirement, we did then see a really, really good scrap between Verstappen and Hamilton from lap 62. And for me, it was a really lovely moment when Hamilton came past Verstappen, nothing against Verstappen, and you heard the crowd give that really, really big cheer.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you could tell that Hamilton had the pace because he was definitely on to Verstappen. Obviously, he's just finding the right time, which corner, what straight show to take on.
Yeah.
Also, as we know, in previous years, there has been a bit of history between them two drivers. So I think the race, there's quite a lot of respect between them two, and you could definitely tell that Verstappen wasn't going to pull any dodgy moves on Hamilton. I think, in my personal opinion, I think Verstappen's gained respect.
Yeah.
Hamilton's gained respect as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, they both know they're not in title contention as of yet.
Yeah.
But they're just trying to make do with what they got and trying to do their best for what they have.
Ensure that they get their own best result if possible, but without hindering the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a really enjoyable battle to end on. But we actually ended with another Antonelli win, 4th on the bounce.
4th on the bounce, and with Antonelli lapping all the way up to 4th place. 4 wins in a row and lapped all the way up to 4th.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite scary thinking about it, how quick that car is.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah, it's exceptional, isn't it? It's leaving everybody else for dead. I think I touched on, I think, in the preview as well, that kind of blows my mind when I think about it, is last year in Canada, bearing in mind that Canada was 11 months ago and not 12 months ago, that was Antonelli's first podium.
Yeah.
And now he's come to Canada and it's his 4th win on the bounce.
Yeah.
The progression is amazing. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, there was quite a few firsts there, wasn't there? It was Max's first podium of the year, Hamilton's best Ferrari finish, and Colapinto's best finish yet with 6th. So well done to Colapinto, and a pretty good drive from Gasly to recover to 8th as well, has to be said.
And I think that's the first time this year that both Alpines have been in the points, which is quite nice to see because obviously they're coming along quite well. And I do honestly think that obviously they're 5th in the constructors, which is, I think that's the best that they've had. And to be honest, they probably won't get 4th because obviously they're the top teams. But if Alpine can carry on and stay in 5th, I think that'll be their best finish that they've had. But I do think on a good weekend and with the right car, they can both easily get top 6 finish in the race.
Yeah, I think so. And they've only got to do that a few times. I did say in my pre-season predictions that I had a bit of a hot take that not only would Alpine fire up the order, but that they could even potentially maybe finish in front of the Red Bull. And I know that's a really, really hot take.
Well,
but I don't think it's off the table.
Red Bull and reliability.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
and you've really only got one driver consistently scoring points.
I mean, Son's got Alpine that consistent, no reliability issues, and both cars in the point. Don't matter if it's 9 or 10, 8 points gaining on the Red Bull.
Exactly. That was the race. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Bring on Monaco, which will be completely different, admittedly, but
the thing is, with Monaco, it's a unique track. You don't need speed.
No, it'll come down to qualifying.
It's not a speed track. It's corners. There's probably, you never know, a lower team like Cadillac might favour Monaco. You never know. They miraculously might end up in the point.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not exactly based on the power unit.
No.
There's actually not that much power being used on Monaco, whereas like with Canada or Monza, where you need the straight line speed. Monaco, you have to get it right. You need the right aero setup. It's going to be interesting. Thing is, are we going to have crashes? Obviously, with the rear wing and the front wing opening at the same time, which I'm enjoying it, but it's dangerous at the same time.
Yeah.
You only need one of them to fail on you, and that's it. Your race is done for. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's quite a special track, and I'm pretty sure it'll be quite interesting. I mean, maybe we might see the Mercedes dominance there, or maybe McLaren, Ferrari, or Red Bull, or even a surprise team could take on.
Exactly. Yeah, looking forward to that. So before we wind up then, it's predictions time. And I believe you've done some predictions as well, Jay.
Yes, I have.
So, who did you predict for sprint pole?
I predicted Hamilton because with the way he was running, he looked absolutely comfortable in the car.
Yeah. I think that was a fair call. I think there was every chance he could have done that. I went for the low-hanging fruit and predicted Russell, and it was indeed Russell.
Yeah.
Family predictions game did extremely well because I predicted the top 3 in the sprint pole, top 3 in the sprint correctly. So I'm like, get in, bonus points for me this week. Okay. It all went a bit wrong after that, but we don't think about that. So when it comes to the sprint race, then what was your top 3 for the sprint race?
My top 3 for the sprint race was Russell, Norris, and Antonelli.
Well, we're definitely on the same page there because that was mine as well. And I'm pleased to say we both got that absolutely right because that was the finishing order.
Yeah.
So moving on to qualifying then, who did you have in your top 5 for qualifying?
So top 5 for qualifying for me, I say Antonelli because he's a bit of a hothead and he seems to be on the ball at the minute.
Yeah.
Norris P2, Piastri P3, Hamilton, just because I feel like he can still get in there. He can
Yeah.
still get in with the mix.
Yeah.
And Russell. Just because,
Mm.
you know what Russell's like sometimes? He can have a good one and sometimes he can just trip over his feet sometimes and he's just not quite there.
Absolutely. Qualifying wise, I picked Antonelli for pole, Russell in second. I didn't know which way around to put the McLaren boys because I never do, because as I always say, they're very evenly matched. But I actually put Piastri in third, Norris in fourth, and Leclerc in fifth. I don't know why I particularly thought it this weekend, but I thought Leclerc would do quite well and Hamilton would struggle. And as we know, the opposite of that was true. And what about your race top five?
So race top 5, Antonelli, straight away. Just because he's got the speed on that track. He's an absolute monster on that track. Obviously, he's got the car, he's got the pace. And then for P2, I say Russell, because obviously, second driver of the Mercedes. Well, first driver, but both Mercedes. Would have thought both Mercedes would be up there.
Yeah.
And then I've got Norris, obviously with McLaren, he's getting in the mix there. So I'd say with Norris, Piastri, and Hamilton.
And for myself in the race, I predicted a Russell win. I really did think it was going to be George's weekend right across the board. But as we know, reliability got in the way of that. With Antonelli second, I thought that Norris would most likely be the best of the best in third, with Piastri behind him. And then again, Leclerc in fifth. But I got the wrong Ferrari doing well this weekend. So yeah, not quite such good predictions this week. Now, hit the mark. Who did you think, team or driver, that would do really well this weekend?
Alpine. Definitely Alpine. Obviously, I've seen from Miami, obviously, Cole Pinto finishing the points. Amazing. Gasly probably would have done if it wasn't for the contact. I think they're definitely getting there. They're definitely on the ball now.
Yeah. Well, we were in complete agreement there because for the hit the mark, I did pick Alpine as well. I've said that they've leapfrogged up the order. They're doing amazingly. They had big upgrades this weekend. Colapinto's definitely found his way and it was incredible in Miami. And like you say, Gasly probably would have been as well had he not got yeeted into the scenery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were in agreement on that one. And I think we can claim that one because I do think Alpine did extremely well.
Yep.
Now, the team that we expected to flop, or driver we expected to flop a bit, our pullover and park. Who did you pick for that?
Ferrari. Just because we know what we like on strategies, we know what they like on tyres. As an overall, they don't seem to get it right.
No.
I mean, it's quite often that they do, or when they are doing well, the balls it up anyway, because they're doing the right strategy, or the pit stops.
Yeah.
Pit stops is the main one. But in my opinion, half the time, they got no clue what they're doing. I think I can do a better job.
We had that conversation at home, actually, this weekend, but about the McLarens, because as we said earlier, there was a definite swap around there, wasn't there? And the clown memes apply more to McLaren than Ferrari this weekend. So I don't think you got your pullover and part, but I can see how you picked Ferrari because that would normally be the case.
Yeah.
And I didn't do particularly well on the pullover and park either. I said Red Bull because still overweight, not having particularly big upgrades. I mean, Hadjar had an eventful race, but he still brought it home in fifth. And obviously, Max got his first podium, so I don't get the pullover and park this week either. So a bit of a mixed bag on the predictions there, but it was an unusual race with lots of things that we didn't expect. And right, to wind things up now, it's one of my favourite bits, and that is our flattering ramp, where we pick something over the weekend that makes you smile, makes you think, that's a nice thing for somebody to say or do, or for a team to do. So it's a little bit more of a think outside of the box one, and I know we've both got a flattering ram. And my flattering ram this week was, I'm sure you've all seen Lando had a special race helmet this weekend. And that was for Race Against Dementia, which he's currently raising awareness for. He enjoys a really close relationship with Sir Jackie Stewart, and Sir Jackie Stewart's wife suffers with dementia, as do a lot of people. And Lando raced in a helmet that had a healthy brain scan picture on one side and then a dementia brain scan picture on the other to show like the loss of colour. It was quite representative. I thought it was an amazing thing to look at. And there is going to be so many miniature helmets made of that design to raise money for that cause, which I think is incredible. I love it when drivers use their position to help out charities or people to shine a light on things and to raise money for them. And I just thought that was a really, really nice cause. So that my flattering ram goes to Lando Norris this week. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, well, I'm going slightly off course for this one. It's not actually, well, it is partially to do with F1, but it's not.
Ooh.
Nicholas Hamilton, touring cars, winner of the Jack Sears Trophy. First time both Hamiltons on the podium. I mean, wow.
Don't get better than that, does it?
Yeah, can't get any better than that. I mean, I know Nicholas Hamilton has struggled since obviously can't walk properly with his condition and that, but every time he goes out there, I know he chucks everything, he puts heart and soul into it. And finally, yesterday, it all came together.
Yeah, it was lovely
On
to see.
both Hamiltons for the first time on a podium. I mean, can't ask for anything better than that.
No, I fully agree with that one, and I don't even mind that you've gone a little bit Antonelli and gone off track there a little bit with that. Not at all. So yeah, I think both of those flattering rams very, very well deserved. So yeah, just to finish off then, I thought it was a really great Grand Prix weekend. I think it was thoroughly enjoyable to watch. Certainly disappointments for some, but overall great entertainment. And up next is Monaco, which will be different again, and we'll have to see what unfolds there. Got any last thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, it's going to be rather interesting. But yeah, hopefully we have some more great races like we have with Canada for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I would just like to say a massive thank you for having me on this podcast. I've probably enjoyed it, and I hope to join again for some more soon.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved having you on here. It's certainly been different, and it's been really, really enjoyable. And it's great to have somebody to discuss different viewpoints with. So yeah, definitely, you'll definitely be back for another podcast with me. Thank you for coming. So thank you to everyone for joining us for this, our Canadian Grand Prix review. I've had an absolute blast, and I will be back a week on Thursday, that's June the 4th, with the preview of the Monaco Grand Prix. And while you're waiting for that, if you want to give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, you want to pop over to our social media, the links for those are in the show notes. My co-host today, Jake Wilkins, links are also in the show notes. You can find him on TikTok at KartBanditCL100, and you can find him on YouTube at Jake Wilkins TRB7. We'd both really appreciate a like, a follow, and a subscribe. Really, really helps us out. Thank you. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your week, have fun, and don't forget the cheesy tagline. Backtrack's F1 podcast. Track the action, join the fun.